All right, I think I can get started. Hi everyone again. Sorry, my video doesn't seem to be working. Um, this is the GUAC maintenance meeting that happens weekly. As usual, this meeting is going to be recorded. It's going to be posted online. Participation meeting follows LF antitrust policies as well as open SSF code of conduct. So I think let's get started. I think we have. Do you want to do some introductions? I feel like um, some new faces, at least to me.
Yeah, I'm probably new here. So I'm a part of the management of Trusted Profile Analyzer in Red Hat, working with Dejan, Phil, my manager on TPA and Trustify.
Awesome. Is it how do you pronounce? Is it Peter? How do you?
Peter is
Okay.
organized.
Awesome. Thank you. Also, I guess, Brian, did you have something that you want to discuss today in the meeting? That I should put down, or just swinging by?
Mainly coming by to say hi. Ben commented on the issue that I commented on that I created initially for the air gap kind of use cases and deployments, and finally kind of freed some cycles to go ahead and start picking away at like what does this look like and propose it and see if this all kind of aligns with a greater, GUAC, I would say, roadmap in some way, shape, or form. And so nothing today, but I'd like to start picking away at the obvious stuff. I think the low hanging fruit, I'll probably just submit issues for. Some of the more opinionated pieces, I'll bring back to this group and get more opinions.
Awesome. I really like your mic too. It's very clear. Which one are you using?
I've got I think it's like a $40 HyperX SoloCast mic off
Sounds
Amazon.
good. That sounds really good. Um, cool. All right. I've added that to the agenda. Peter, is there anything that you wanted to chat about today? I should add to the agenda.
Well, mainly I joined because like last week, right, we signed the agreement for Trustify with Linux Foundation. So I think with Dejan, we have some work to do to become part of that community properly. So yeah, I would like to understand probably like where we can get like our space, where we can publish stuff and that kind of things. But Dejan might have a little bit more detailed list.
Yeah, I added it to the agenda. So
Awesome.
let's see
Cool. All right, let's get started then. So the first item I added, this is around the community governance changes with trust. Is this a Trustify or do we have to find a new name? It's a Trustify.
it's Trustify for the foreseeable future. That's good.
Awesome. So with Trustify joining, we're revamping the governance. I've applied kind of the changes, suggestions from last week to add in the process around the steering committee, as we talked about. So I'll talk really quickly about it, but I think I wanted to get folks' comments on it. The main changes to this was to kind of define what the steering committee is. The main parts of it is that it's going to be 5 members initially, 3 members are general seats, 1 seat per core project. But it's not limited to a core project only having 1 seat, right? basically having at least two different employers. Change in seat is decided by majority vote. Inactivity for more than 3 months will result in removal. At least 3 steering committee members at any time, and as we discussed, there's no limit on current member terms. The process is really making a issue in the governance repo by a steering committee member. The proposal needs to be communicated on all supported channels and the GUAC community, GUAC.sh community link. And then we need a majority steering members' approval. And after 2 weeks of the communication of the proposal with necessary approvals, the change will be in effect. So giving that lead time for people to comment on it, say anything they want about it. And we have kind of an exception in place. If there's any issues that people feel with the current governance model, they can bring this up with us. They can bring it up. They can escalate it if it fails resolution to the open SSF tech. I kind of chose that as the resolution point. And I think this is relevant for us. I've said in the case where there isn't a quorum for the steering committee, which I think will be the first instantiation of it. We will say like, here are the committee members, and we will present this to approval for the open SSF tag. So I think that will be the process that we will go through in the initial bootstrapping of the steering committee. And a few other things that I put in there. So I appreciate if folks can take a look and put any comments. If not, I think we should try and get it merged. So, if there's no questions on that, I had 2 very minor points. One is reminder again to look at the dependency analysis demo that the folks from Red Hat did 2 weeks ago. We'll be discussing this at next Monday's meeting. So to take a look at that. Also a note, I took a bunch of the 1.0 discussions and 1.0 punch list and moved it to a tab in the same meetings doc. So it's still there if you want to reference it, but I think it was taking out a lot of clutter and space on the top of the doc, so I moved it out. All right. Nick's over to you, Dan.
Yeah, so last week we finally signed the agreement, so that's all good. The first step, we got instructions from the folks from Linux Foundation is to mark them as the owners of our GitHub organization, which we did. So I'm further waiting for other instructions on how we are gonna move with moving things and organizing the repositories and everything. So still waiting on that. There's an open thread. I think Ben and Mike are there. Maybe Brendan, you are not, but I can add you in the next conversation if you want.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, I think one of the things, so I think last time we discussed, we said I think it should be fine to just move all the repos over into the GUAC org. Is that still the current plan, or has this question? Okay.
It is, as far as we are concerned. I'm just thinking, yeah, do we need to get any approval for that, or
I think we can just do it. I think we got general agreement during the last meeting that we discussed that. So
cool.
I think we should be good to go on that.
Cool. I'll So I'll make some plans because I think we need to double check all our processes will be working properly. So all the GitHub Actions, release processes, and image repository, things like that. So, but yeah, let's start doing that. Maybe,
Yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense. I think also, let me, did I give you organization permissions yet? I think I haven't, but let me do that. So organization role assignments. I'm just gonna give you. Oh, I don't have you on. You're not part of the organization yet, I think. So I need to add you.
I think so as well. Yeah.
Member privileges. Wait. Why is this so hard to use? Okay, let me just make an action item for myself to
Yeah.
figure. GUAC off privileges. Pick the item.
Beyond that,
Okay.
so Ben, I started looking into the slides today, so we'll do it in the next couple of days. I was also thinking, because our upstream documentation is all over the place and a little bit outdated, so to use this like a presentation form, like what's Trustify, what's the components, and where to find things as a like a baseline or outline for the further documentation. So maybe we can figure out how we're gonna go about that. So we have this justification.io, which I think is outdated, and maybe we should stop using it. And maybe, as we talked earlier, do something like on the GUAC website, starting to think about how we're gonna present all this, like community projects where the Trustify docs will live, where the general docs will live. So just to start thinking about it. So I won't have any material ready in the until the next Monday. So, but just
yeah, I'll try.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try and put together a plan this week, because I think this is a good opportunity to rework how we do some of the GUAC docs as well. Some of it's kind of grown up organically, and I think this would be a good chance, because we'll have to move some stuff around so that we have, kind of a clear separation. So I'll try and at least have a plan in place, and then we could start working towards the cleanup and bringing the Trustify stuff in.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it seems like we need a new landing page and new content for that as well, right? Will that be what you're also looking into, Ben, or do we need a separate item? Okay, we got it.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of two separate things, but I'll work on them as one, basically.
Okay. Awesome. So I think with the governance changes, moving out the repos, and I think the big one probably will be the updating the landing page. I think we should be pretty much set. I think the only thing that we have to agree on, which shouldn't be too much of an issue, is how we want to announce it on the blog posts and getting all that out, and actually having our first so-called discussion thread as a community.
Yeah, I think we talked earlier, so maybe maybe we need to do this like join our marketing teams to come up with something as well on our side. I mean, to just let the word out everywhere we can, right?
Yeah, so I think this may be good for us to start an email thread to put in all the folks that need to be in the know for blog posts and stuff like that. Do you have a list of folks that we should include?
Well, I think
And
maybe
then
Peter
sorry.
and me from our side would be good start, and then we can reach out further.
Yeah,
What do
I
you
can
think?
reach
Okay.
out to marketing later. Yeah.
Okay. Peter, do you mind adding your email to
Yeah, already.
sending me? Oh, you got it. Okay, I see it. Okay, thank you. Okay.
I'm not sure. So thinking now, should we be ready with some kind of landing page before OpenSSF to have somewhere to like direct people? I mean, it's a short term, but at least have something that you know will be like having an anchor where people can go.
Yeah, it would be good to have at least a, coming soon kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then, ideally at least like a post on our blog, even if OpenSSF blog or something doesn't have anything until after the event.
Yeah, maybe there we can link to the presentation later on. So yeah,
Yep.
Double linked graph.
So is that are we talking about the landing page that we talked about for the GUAC SH? Or are we talking about something different?
I think we're talking about the same thing, but
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not sure the landing page will be fully ready in 2 weeks, and to at least have some allocation for the landing page with some information by then, right?
Yep.
So I guess Ben, do you need any support with that? In terms of, because you said you were going to look at the landing page. Do you need content there? Do you need any help with getting the?
I will probably need some content, but we could at least get something short term done. And I can probably pull from the slides that Dayon and I are working on for our talk at OpenSSF Community Day, if nothing else. But my hope is Wednesday or Thursday to have a plan that I can just kind of share around, and we can start putting pieces into place pretty quickly. So
Yeah, we also have that doc that we put together. I'm not sure whether you still have access to that. But yeah, could be useful. Do you think maybe we can kind of review the content on the landing page next meeting, and then we can probably, I think they'll probably take a little bit of work to figure out how to move the pages and do all that, which I think we can help also.
yeah, that works.
Okay. So, I think other than that, we should be set. Cool. I think if not, any other concerns on that? No? Okay. All right. The last one was to talk about the ag app stuff. Brandon said anything specific?
I think at the moment, I don't have anything drawn up too extensive, and that's will be probably my next action item is to get that ready for presentation at like one of these meetings. Outside of that, I'd say the real goal is kind of like I think there's some smaller items that I'm just going to submit as issues, things like modifications to the Helm chart and some existing like I don't know things that could be good discussion items for how do we enable different, I'd say, integrations across projects. And so Zarf and GUAC, Zarf kind of has some things that we're developing for the internal registry. And so I think some of that has to play out. But besides that, the general strategy, right? I want to kind of propose kind of the different pieces of this and see what kind of like blends the best with GUAC's, I would say, like development of capabilities such as this. And so, what does this mean, right? And document it. And so, it'd be documentation updates first and foremost, but then just kind of like other general like strategy items. We can introduce a package that is GUAC ready for the air gap and publish it on releases. That's wonderful. Like next step, let's test it regularly. And so integrate it into the testing cycles. And then I think kind of just keep progressing with how mature is this capability. And I just need to draw all of that out.
Awesome. Sounds good. And we'll look forward to your issues.
Wonderful. Appreciate it.
Awesome. If not, I think that's all we had on the agenda. Again, quick reminder, take a look at the governance PRs. Let's get that merged. Reminder for next week, to look at the dependency analysis demo so we can discuss it. And if not, I think we have a bunch of items to wrap up before next week's meeting. So then we should be good. Awesome. If we don't have anything else, then everyone can
Just
can have the half
real
an hour.
quick, Brandon.
Oh, yeah.
I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
I just wanted to draw folks' attention to there were a couple of questions in the Slack channel from earlier today, where kind of how do we want to approach solving this problem? And it was at a greater technical depth than I felt getting involved in. So one was about enabling the scorecard certifier in the Helm chart, and then the other one was handling the bill of materials included software packages in the Ent schema. So those would probably need some maintainer input on those.
Okay, I'll take a look at those as well. Thanks for flagging that.
And one other thing for you, Brandon, or somebody else who has access, the GitHub immutable releases private preview is now available on our organization. So if you can enable that on the GUAC visualizer repo, as we discussed, I'll try and do a release this week, and we can kind of test out that immutable releases feature.
Awesome. Yeah, let me all right, sounds good.